delighted to have been asked to introduce my friend, Stephen Poplin. During the meditation at the very end, when we were at the top of the mountain, we were told to then step down, come to the edge of the mountain, and I immediately thought, well, I'll jump off and fly. That was strange. And I looked up and I saw that Stephen was sitting next to me. Last night I asked Stephen if he would prepare a few sketches, bio sketches for me to read, and he said, just go to my website. Well, I did that, and I started making notes and notes and notes. I couldn't get it to a reasonable size. So this morning he handed me something that he had put together, and I'll begin with this. I don't mean to go on too long, but he's worth a good introduction, and I'm not used to doing this, so bear with me. Stephen Poplin, who has been interpreting horoscopes for more than 30 years, thought he was a free agent when he got into astrology in the 1970s, but it was a Uranus transit. He consciously sought and attained degrees in philosophy and humanities with a special emphasis in utopian studies, but recognizes he was born with Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Cancer in the 10th house. That explains everything. He calls himself a practical mystic, and guess what? He's got a Scorpio sun and a Capricorn moon. As he was born under a secretive sun sign, forget that I said that. Stephen was ordained here at the fellowship in 1988. Did he hear the call or just respond to Neptune in his first house? As for his love life, well, it's in the stars. He has studied tarot, drama therapy, symbology, and metaphysics. Stephen is also a hypnotherapist, past life regressionist, writer, and Heilpraktiker für Psychotherapy in Germany. He was born under a wandering star, living in Europe for many years, and now finding himself among the cornfields of Iowa, or the field of dreams. So in my reading of his website, I was, first of all, Stephen's been a friend since 1983, but we haven't been together very often. I was blessed to, 3 years ago, this spring, to visit him and his wife, Alenka, in Hamburg, Germany. I think we were together 3 days. It took me a week to recover. So as I synthesized what I was getting from all the information and this amazing breadth and depth of resources that he has put together in his life to help others, to be of service to Gaia, to the planet, and to all sentient beings, I realized that underneath, and partially obscured by his outgoing personality, his joy of life and outrageous sense of humor, and a quality of inner freedom that might compel him, like St. Francis, to run into the streets tearing off his clothes and saying, I want to discover my soul. Underneath all that is a dangerously balanced mind. And I will just quote one thing from the website. He writes, there is a great dialogue happening, a grand and divine conversation going on. We are conversing with greater forces or intelligences, communing with higher powers. in any way you wish to communicate with that greater force, call it spirit or God, you will be communicated with. Let the grand dialogue begin. It is just like talking with a good friend. And I had the privilege of 3 days of talking with my good friend and his wife. So let's welcome Stephen.
It's great to be back in Virginia Beach and here and all this love and light. It's almost overwhelming at times. It's 2016, an election year. And my neighbor is voting for Trump. Who here saw Mr. Bean's Holiday with Rowan Atkinson? Funny fellow. So basically, the not so clever Mr. Bean won a trip to France. It was his first trip abroad. Luckily, he knew enough French to get by. Well, actually, he knew 3 words. No, oui, and gracias. We are all on adventures here, travelers, coming to Earth, coming to Virginia Beach. Many of us have brought what we learned here on our personal journeys coming to this place here and now. Many in this room have come from a traditional faith or church. Then something happened. You got curious. You started asking questions, started looking around. Can anyone here relate to that? There's a name for this. Are there any mystics or intuitives in the room? Yeah, quite a few, I thought so. So who here can relate to this statement? Spirituality is the highest form of political consciousness. Do you notice that I'm asking questions? I'm asking for responses. This is an election year.
What are you running for?
You'll find out. Do you know the root meaning of heresy, and so a heretic? One with the ability to choose. The problem came when the follower did not follow. The heretic chose another way. The larger group or tradition did not like that. Heretics do not conform. How many heretics do I have here today? I thought so. Let's pray. God, may we mystics continue to choose. May we continue to dance to our divine music. May we listen well and follow your guidance. Amen. Let us dance. Oh yeah. Sometimes, the mystics have got this music going on inside our heads. Many people looking at us mystics, they'll say, what the heck are these people doing? They act strange. So we do have our subjective melodies, our inner visions, those things that come to us, and there's a lot of people who don't quite get us. Remember the movie Arthur? And that was with Dudley Moore. He would periodically laugh out loud for no particular reason. And when they asked him about this, his line was really great. Sometimes I think the funniest things. Intuitives are listening to another frequency. Some mystics consult with the stars and constellations. Some talk to the dead. Some to guides. Some to ghosts, spirit guides, and so forth. Who believes here in things unseen? Who talks to angels? You were superstitious. Origins are helpful to understand. Superstition comes from the Latin and meant stand still by something, as in amazement. You know when something out of the ordinary just kind of grabs you, and then the hair stands up. Later on, superstition meant being stuck on some old notion. Can we say then that mystics and intuitives are superstitious heretics? The atheists and the realists think we're bonkers. The religious conservatives want to convert us and save us to the true religion, while the chaotics don't care what we're doing. In fact, the people of chaos remind me of the following viewpoint. In a room full of enlightened beings, the pickpocket only sees their wallets. Rationalists, traditionalists, and revolutionaries. Each and every citizen in any one of these groups and more can vote. Liberals can vote. Conservatives can vote. Atheists can, and the devoutly religious can too. Mystics can vote too, of course. Which platform pulls you in? Which agenda, values? The more we know, the better we can make up our minds, make good decisions, and vote. By the way, you know by now that if you make up your mind about something, you are a heretic. Chooser. That's better than loser, huh? How are we to choose? Now that is something to think about. Repeat after me. I love it here. God is love.
God is love.
I am love.
I am love.
I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. Ecclesiastes. Notice that when the message is rather small and simple, it is easier to repeat. If our worldview or message is complex, few follow it or even want to. Mystics are fine with complexity, even with paradox. And I look at this symbol up here, that's not simple. A mother I recently met told me about her polite and respectful son. When he was about 8 years old, he was about this high, she asked him to do something that he wasn't really interested in doing. He just wasn't motivated. She urged him, tried to talk him into it. As a good boy who was taught to tell the truth, he couldn't feign interest, and he would lie. So he told her, "I can't want to." Now that is sincere and clever. When you think about the political theater here in 2016, do any of you stop and say, "I really can't get into this name-calling and pettiness. I can't want to"? You know the angel on one side of the shoulder and then the devil on the other side of the shoulder? Well, I've got an inspired mystic on one shoulder and the revolutionary anarchist on the other. They are both loud and impassioned. In stereo, they can cancel each other out. That's when I flip a coin. Not really. My shoulder guards, the political activist within me, points to ancient Greece. Aristotle stated that we as humans are born into a polis, a community, and thus we are political creatures. We live in societies and need to live together in peace. Mysticism is all very nice, says my political activist. And yes, it's great to pray, but people are starving. There are wars everywhere, and refugees fleeing from bombs and violence. I look at my other shoulder. Okay, so we should get involved. We should take an active role in our communities, and I'm really so proud to see that you're doing that here. So my two shoulders, my two sides, they are debating, and here's the dialogue. We have many lifetimes to get to the one. All is flowing. I can only change myself. I'm hearing the Beatles. Love, love, love. All you need is love. A car radio blasts the latest tune from Washington. We will ignore the Constitution and not allow the president to choose a Supreme Court justice. A defiant voice yells, "We will build a wall." Another voice yells, "We will bomb them." Mother Earth cries. Oil leaks, pollution. I turn off the radio. It is May. Millions of students are graduating from college this month, and they are heavily in debt. What will be their future? What's a mystic to do? It's getting harder to dance. I go through phases of anger, frustration, black clouds start to gather, and then a voice comes. I remember the shortest sentence in the Bible. Jesus wept. It's 2016, and we're still dealing with this. My mystic gives me a pep talk. You must focus upon the little things of life. Enjoy the playing child, the flowing creek, the setting sun, the loving glance, the laughing minister. Choose, choose. A new day is here. Choose again. This is the vote. The laughing Buddha got it. Eureka. I must attune to both sides of my brain. The spiritual mystic and the political activist. I get centered. I align the dilemma within, getting to that place of resolution and peace. I resonate to the centered place within. I am a practical mystic. As a mystic, I pay attention to signs, omens, synchronicities, and patterns. Oftentimes I look at the stars and notice how our lives reflect the themes. As an activist, I interpret the impressions into something useful. There is a meaning to it all, to timing, observation, reflection, interpretation. As an example, remember when Pope Francis, this was a few years ago, released the 2 doves for the Ukraine? Both doves were attacked by birds of prey within seconds. Bad sign. Remember when Ted Cruz chose Carly Fiorina as his VP, and within a week his campaign was over? Bad choice. Did you see Carly Fiorina fall from a stage at a Ted Cruz event only 2 days before he called it quits? A sign? The mystic knows that there is no cause and effect between the doves and the Russian aggressions against the Ukraine. The fall of Carly was a coincidence at just the right time. Signs. These are intriguing synchronicities. The universe is talking to us, giving us clues all the time. We have been told, those who have ears hear, those who have eyes see. What is the universe saying? What lessons are we supposed to be learning? We are not alone in making decisions. If there is a debate, left and right, Spirit might add a divine comment that might tip the scales. Cause and effect, planting and reaping. Watch what you put out there, including those words, those criticisms that can come back. Politics is not often very clear. What is the truth? If you don't know what to watch for, then pay attention to the signs, for there is always guidance. The mystic sees the signs and knows that God is communicating something. For instance, 9/11, 911. Coincidence? Lesson? When a dispatcher gets a 911 call, an investigation begins. There is a tragedy. What happened? What were the motives? Who watches those crime shows on TV? Okay, good. Well, you know from that, there are often very strong emotions there represented, and there are angry and hurt relatives, and they want revenge. No, they want justice. And they want it now. They want to get that trial over because someone's got to pay. More clear-headed investigators ask the unpopular questions. 911. Did hidden secret U.S. policies of the past backfire? This is called blowback, which is a CIA term. What are we to learn? Cause and effect. Yes, karma. Negative policies and harmful acts come back to bite us. The remedy is simple. Create good karma. The golden rule. Do unto others as ye would have them do unto you. This is the law. This is karma. Therefore, do good. This is your choice. This is your vote. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. By the way, do you know what the silver rule is? True. Confucius said, do not harm others, and they will not harm you. The golden rule is more active, positive. Let's see this in action. Please get ready to move. Listen to me. Please stand up. Now, don't stand up. Point made. You see the power of the golden versus the silver rule. Being very direct is quite clear. The golden rule says plant seeds of good. This is how you vote. There are many kinds of voting, but we can start with the most obvious right now. 49% of the American voting public usually do not vote in general elections. In 2000, for instance, both Bush and Gore each got 23%. Gore, of course, winning the popular vote. But get this, the silent majority could have chosen a completely different candidate from another party. This could happen in any election, including that one here in 2016. 49% could have a write-in candidate and win the election. I can even go down to 30% and win. But they don't vote. That's why we're the silent majority. My basic aim is not to get more voters out there, although that's not a bad idea, but basically to point towards voting through your actions, through your deeds. What are your political platforms? What do you stand for? The mystic has eyes on the ideals. The practical idealist sees these things are true. What goes around comes around. Know thyself. Love one another. And follow that golden rule. The practical mystic has the vision and then acts on it. Think globally, act locally. The practical mystic follows God, Spirit, who is communicating through signs, visions, dreams, coincidences, and synchronicities. And then that mystic acts or votes on that guidance. The mystic votes. When you choose, you vote. You have chosen to come to the Fellowship of the Inner Light today. The inner light. How about that? You choose how much you donate here. You choose with your money. You vote with your time and money. Socially responsible investing. People choose not to invest in genetically modified food, munitions, tobacco, whatever your ideal, your stance. Socially responsible buying. Where do you buy? From the chains or from some business people in this very church? Martin Luther King Jr. took a tip from Gandhi. He urged Southern blacks to buy from black businesses. Solidarity. After his home was bombed by racial terrorists born and raised in the USA, King told his angry followers that violence had to be met with nonviolence. He followed another who said, we must turn the other cheek. King followed his conscience and voted for civil rights. Through his marches, his speeches, his touring, his sermons, and with his life, he voted. The mystic votes. Spirituality is the highest form of political consciousness. When you choose to spend time in nature, you are investing in inner peace and tranquility. When you stop for a beautiful sunset, you are voting for life. When you smile and take in another, you are bonding, connecting with another spark of God. Have you heard of the Guru chant? I learned this from Swami Beyondananda. It goes like this. G-U-R-U. G-U-R-U. G, you are you. Remember to put yourself in your own campaign. Repeat after me. It's an election year.
It's an election year.
Vote for me.
Vote for me.
Let's expand that. It's an election year.
It's an election year.
Vote for we.
Vote for we.
I'll vote for that. Gracias. I vote, I choose to pray. May we, as mystics, vote for love, peace, wisdom, laughter, and dance. Let us choose. Let us vote to come here together today to be light bearers. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Thank you.